Hey guys, I think I'm gonna multi-class into cleric at the next level up.
Interesting. And why is that, might I ask?
Well, probably because this game is really brutal and we could use some healing.
Yeah, our dungeon master is a real jerk.
So what deity are you going to follow as a cleric?
Oh, well, I was on describe.com. They have some really wonderful narrative descriptions of deities over there. And the one that really stuck out to me the most was the God of Thieves.
What the heck is wrong with you?
What do you mean?
Well, first of all, if anyone were gonna have the God of Thieves as their deity, that'd be me! And second of all, you shouldn't be using describe.com to pick your deity, you moron! Professionally written box text, no matter how beautiful, is no basis upon which to place your faith!
Well, what am I supposed to base my faith on then?
Well, many fine players base their decision on the mechanical benefits of worshipping certain deities in the game.
That's right! Min-max the crap out of it!
Yeah, especially considering our dungeon master never uses religion in any other meaningful way in the game.
Hey! I'm sitting right here!
Well, I don't know. The God of Thieves just sounds so eloquent.
You want eloquent? I'll give you eloquent!
Welcome to DM Lair. I'm Luke Hart, and I've been a dungeon master since high school. On this channel, I give practical GM advice that you can use in your Dungeons & Dragons and RPG games. Now, in many campaigns, religion really just comes up once, when a cleric, paladin, or other religion-based class is created, and the player needs to decide which deity their character follows. Okay, sure, the group might run into priests of Tyre, or defeat clerics of Cyric, but religion itself might never even be the real focus of those run-ins. They're essentially just NPCs and bad guys that happen to have religion associated with them. However, by and large, religion in the game is largely an afterthought. So today in the Lair, we're going to talk about 10 ways you can incorporate religion more into your games and make it more interesting than it typically is in a game. By the way, if you're looking for a resource to help you with narrative descriptions in your RPG, I highly recommend that you check out Describe. Describe.com has thousands of narrative descriptions of monsters, places, spells, characters, and items to help you trip over your tongue less and set that awe-inspiring scene for your players more. Let's say you're introducing a deity of thievery to your group and want to set the scene just right. Simply go to describe.com, type in God, and you'll see a massive list of deities to choose from. Then just click God of Thieves, and the perfect box text to read to your players pops up. You can also use their nearby tag feature and click deity to get lots of other options, including places where deities might be found. Many of the narrative descriptions are completely free, and hundreds more are available with a paid subscription. New content, such as their Planes collection, which contains even more deity and religion-related content, is constantly being released as well. So, if you want to make the pious move, like so many have, check out Describe at the link below, and use the coupon code TheDMLair to get 10% off your first subscription payment. Number 1. Feature religion in the main story arc. In my Ancient Dragon game, the main plot line dealt with Asmodeus and the Queen of Air and Darkness. Basically, demons from Avernus, where the Blood War is taking place, are being transported to the material plane via the Feywild in order to alleviate the burden on the devils in the Blood War. This will allow Asmodeus to pursue other agendas. In exchange for her help, Asmodeus has promised the Queen of Air and Darkness that he will help her overthrow Queen Titiana so that the Queen of Air and Darkness might rule the entire plane. Now, this doesn't strictly involve religion, of course, but it does involve devils and demons and planes, so it might stray a little bit into that court. Don't get bogged down in the details. The point is that when featuring religion in the main story arc, sprinkle religious lore throughout the game. Have it be important to the story arc. Now, avoid information dumps though. The idea is that players would need to find and pick up on religious lore to help them solve the problems at hand. So, in the example of my Ancient Dragon group, they are frequently running across lore about the Blood War or things that are going on, or they decide to use downtime to research them more. And this is all information they'll need to stop the villains. To feature religion in the story arc, think of deities as powerful NPCs with agendas. Only they operate by proxy via their followers, and they aren't usually found physically in the game world. more on this later. Number 2, have religion impact the PCs. In many games, a religion is something that is included in the core rule books, and certain classes need to pick a religion, clerics and paladins for example, but after that it's often not brought up again. So bring it up again. From time to time, religion should have some impact, not just on the game world around the PCs, but on the characters themselves, especially the characters whose class focuses around a religion, like a cleric or a paladin. For instance, priests in 2 local churches are on strike because of recent poor tithing, and are refusing to perform any healing services. Healing services that the characters, your players' PCs, are in dire need of. A religious faction requests a service instead of gold payment for something the group needs, healing, etc. An NPC the characters care about has been arrested by a local religion for blasphemy, and they might be sentenced to die. These are all examples of how you can feature religion more prominently in your campaign. Number 3, feature PCs' religions more in the game. Clerics, paladins, warlocks, and others all choose religions and have deities, and those are amazingly important parts of those classes, so make them feel like important parts of those classes. One way to do this is fairly easy. Simply reward players when they roleplay their PC's religion. This can be through inspiration or through minor boons. Of course, make sure there is an analogous reward for other classes such as fighters and rogues, although it isn't necessarily going to be religion related, so that they don't feel left out. Downtime is another great opportunity for religion to be featured more with classes that have strong ties to religion. This will take some cooperation and probably some initiative from your player, of course. In my Ancient Dragon game, one of my players plays Kasim, a cleric of the Horned God, basically a cult-like deity. And I had the Horned God visit him one night as he slept and commission him to build a church dedicated to the Horned One in Waterdeep. And now, Kasim uses many of his downtimes to expand that church, going around and recruiting followers and performing religious services. And Kasim now has a growing congregation of nearly 50 followers of the Horned God in his church. Bear in mind that because it's part of downtime, it doesn't detract from the rest of the game. Kasim is still a cleric that goes on adventures with the party, and they still play your standard D&D game. In other words, growing his church is a mini game. It hasn't become the only focus of Kasim. He's still an adventurer first. Number 4, feature cults in the campaign. Okay, let's say you don't want religion to be part of the main story arc, but you do want it to show up from time to time in an important way. Cults are a great way to do this. A cult of a dominant religion can easily serve as a small group stirring up trouble in the world that the characters have to deal with. This allows you the opportunity to use the cult and the religion for an adventure or two, but not have it become the focus of the entire campaign. It also allows you to introduce the lore of the religion and show how the cult's views diverge from established doctrine. This way you are revealing to your players information about that religion and cult in an organic way that directly impacts the game and their adventures, instead of something far less engaging like handouts that list the major religions in the game. For instance, my Sword Coast Guard game featured the White Knights of Torm for a handful of adventures. They were a religious sect of knights, clerics, and paladins of Torm that had their headquarters in Gauntlet Hall to the north of Waterdeep. Now, the White Knights were supposedly a good order, but the players learned that they were arresting and burning many of the local women, claiming they were witches. One such woman, Granny Mathilda Titchwillow, whose story I've told in another video, asked the party to retrieve the body of her sister Agatha from the White Knights. And that kicked off a series of adventures that pitted the characters against these good followers of Torm, and culminated in the characters wiping out the order almost completely and taking their headquarters, Gauntlet Hall, for themselves. By the way, if you're finding the information in this video useful, give me a thumbs up and leave a comment for the algorithm down below. Let YouTube know that I don't suck. Number 5, make religion part of the political system. When religion is part of the political system, such as when you have a theocracy as the local government, or when it just heavily influences politics, such as when there is an official state-sponsored church, the realities of religion's influence on the world around the characters is inescapable. Laws are influenced by the religion. Customs and special events are influenced by the religion. The main campaign plot arc might have nothing to do with that religion, but its presence on the world around the adventurers can be frequently trotted out in front of the players for them to see and experience. It is, of course, up to the game master to do that trotting and to spotlight that religion and its effects on the world around the players occasionally during gameplay. And of course, to push it a bit further, you could have that religion influence the story arc, even if it doesn't become a main feature of it. For instance, the characters are working to overthrow the big bad, but they must run all of their missions by and get the blessing of the local high priest. If they don't, they could find themselves outlaws for trying to do good. And sometimes the high priest might request a change to their plans or require that an acolyte who needs some worldly experience accompany them on their adventure. Number 6, feature religion as present but of secondary importance. Next, we can step away from having religion be such a prominent feature of the game, such as when they are part of the political systems, by simply making a point to feature them in the game more and having them affect the game world more and from time to time affect the PCs. For instance, you might describe prayer ceremonies and religious events that take place in the local area. Describe a procession of monks of a local religious order marching through town as the characters make their way to the market. And remember, many times, players will assume that because the game master mentioned a thing, in this case something related to religion, that it might be important to the game. So, have something ready in case a character decides to attend that religious event, or speak to the procession of monks. There should be something interesting they could learn, and it might even be helpful to the group, either in general or with regards to their current adventure. Have something in your back pocket, but be willing to let it lie if the characters don't bite. Number 7, use religious organizational structures and not the deities themselves. I suggest portraying religion in such a way that churches and followers are active in the world, but deities don't interact directly in the world or with the group. That is, deities use their worshippers as proxies to accomplish their goals in the world. They don't directly show up themselves. There are 2 reasons for this. First, it avoids the game master having to deal with deities' responses when their characters ask them to solve their immediate problems with their immense, nearly limitless powers, instead of using their own skills and abilities to overcome the obstacles in the adventure. I mean, one simple response goes like this, of course. Because if I did use my godlike powers to solve all of the world's ills, there would be no problems, we wouldn't need adventurers like you, and there would be no game to play, and that would make all of you and your game master very, very sad. The second reason is that the complexities of religious orders and the cool things you can do with them in the game are far more interesting than just having ultimately powerful beings walking around the world. At least I think they are. Number 8, make interactions with religious figures fantastical. Remember, when you're doing religion in a fantasy world, you have more tools and more options than the real world. So, when you're creating religions or describing them, make them fantastical. When the acolyte trips and sends a pitcher of water splashing over the high priest of storms, not a drop of water touches the priest, and his garments remain as dry as sand. When a priest gives a sermon, his voice booms to accentuate points. Heavenly music fills the air from nowhere, and listeners benefit from minor boons, such as advantage on the next die roll after the sermon. Also, don't worry too much about game mechanics here. Your goal isn't to make religious figures such as high priest NPCs fit within the framework of the core rulebooks. Your goal is to show off the fantastical elements of religion in the world. Number 9, add depth and inconsistencies to religion. Many times we just accept an RPG religion as the short 3-paragraph description in the core rulebook and assume that all followers and churches of that religion in the world are the same. But reality tells us that religion is more complex than that, and most have a multitude of variations. So represent those variations in your game. For instance, when Kasim runs across another sect of the Horn God in Luskan, who's to say they believe exactly what Kasim does? And who's to say that they don't take offense to Kasim's erroneous beliefs from their point of view, and take it upon themselves to rescue Kasim's congregation in Waterdeep from their misguided leader? Totally not happening in the game. Or, as another example, you could feature warring factions of the same religion in your campaign, and that war serves as a backdrop to the game. Backdrop? Backdrop. You can also lean on hypocrisy that has been historically present in some religions. For instance, the Church of the Silver Flame in the Eberron setting purports to be a good religion. However, its followers have been the cause of many atrocities, all done in the name of good, mind you, or over the history of the world. Think of the Great Inquisition or the witch hunts. People supposedly seeking to do good, but really committing heinous acts of depravity. Number 10, the devil is in the details. At the end of the day, how interesting and cool you make religion in your game will depend on the details. If you make the religion of Torm a heavy theme in your main story arc, but rarely give any interesting details about it, nor develop any depth to it, it'll be the same as if Torm were simply a line item on a cleric's character sheet that rarely got used. So, create details and present them to your players in organic, non-information dumpy ways. For instance, priests in town use religious sayings when they interact with the characters, or the priests usually wear the same special clerical vestments, but one day the group notices they've changed a little. Click on the screen now to binge on another fine DM Lair video, or to become a DM Lair patron and get an issue of Lair magazine every month. And until next time, let's play D&D.